Uh-oh.
So we're back on the build for the Vic Johnson amp. As always, brought to you by 3 Monkeys Solderless, home of the world's best cables for your pedalboard. So go check us out, 3monkeysolderless.com. So where we left off last time was we were doing some of the wiring, making it look kind of neat. Did a couple things off camera before we turned back on again. So added switch, standby switch, going to the fuse. So we've basically got rectifier to capacitors to standby switch to fuse, right? And on the other side of the fuse, we're going to have the choke, right? This is the choke lead over here, and the center tap of the output transformer, right? So those will go right on the fuse itself, the fuse holder. So this is the way that Marshall used to do it back in the day, and it's the way I always did things. So some people will use like a double pull, double throw on their standby, and they'll actually switch the high volts before the rectifier, right? Some arguments to be made for doing it that way, but I just, you know, this is the way I do it. This is the way I've done it. So this is the way I'm going to do it. And that's enough said. So we're basically running, going to run this lead down through here and up across into our switch there. I mean, to our fuse holder there. So I'm, you know, just doing the old wire tie bondage thing. Make it look kind of cool, right? I've seen some amps that have so many wire ties on them. It gets comical, but we're not quite at the comical level yet. Close. Not quite. Let's check our leads lengths. So it's going to come like this. We need to run this down under the switch, right? And come up. There we go. I think we're going to use every bit of the choke lead. Grab that underneath. All right. Yeah. Every bit of it. So I think that's good right there. So I'm going to trim the white wire center tap of the output transformer to match the lead length of the choke, right? And then I'm going to wrap them right here together. I'm going to solder them. And then I'm going to put them in the fuse holder. So I'm going to bend out the fuse holder lead. I think this is in there. No, let me tighten that down just a smidge. I'm going to use our ESP tool that we talked about earlier to do that. There we go. That's nice and tight. And then we'll just solder this guy. And once I've got it tightened on there, right, and I know that the amplifier is working correctly, so I don't have to take anything apart, I'll go ahead and use Loctite on all of this, right, on these fuse holders. That way I know they're not going to sort of come loose on me and create havoc. Okay, so there we go. So we got our choke in there, got all this kind of stuff going. I think now I want to do the secondary for the output transformer, right? So we're gonna apply our bondage skills once again to this guy. I used to do like a camp braid during the blockhead days on this and just braid them, and it looked kind of cool. I'm just wondering if I should do it again, but it would be, you know, like you would take this one, go to this one, go to this one, right? Go to this one, and it would be 3 braided, and then I would keep the ground separate, and then run it to the ground point. But not today. We'll do bondage, right? So this is a pretty kinky channel today. It's a kinky build. Let me move the soldering iron out of here so I don't burn myself. So yeah, I don't know if I should be like showing all of this as much, right? But I guess you guys can fast forward or go double time or whatever. I don't have any real editing software or anything like that, or I would do like one of those like really fast motion things where everything's going like that. But I never edit my videos anyway. It's not something I want to do. It's whatever happens, happens. Such as life. If I make a mistake or if I fall down or vomit, you're gonna see it. So here we go. Yeah, we're just gonna do it like this. Rules be damned. All right, let's see how close we are. Still need a few more. It's got to get all the way to the switch. Or right about there. And then we'll break it out from there into ground and the different impedances that we need. I think one more to do it. Okay, let's trim off the porcupine spine. Could be like a, what's the dinosaur that had the spine back? The Spinosaurus? Is that right? Looks a bit like a Spinosaurus. Imagine if you had a bug that was running around that looked like that. That was that big. That'd be scary. These are the things we think about when we're building amplifiers and going brain dead. All right, so I'm just going to take out these for a second to make room to go under. It's getting crowded in here. All right, so I'm going to get this out of the way. I think right about there is where we want to make the turn. All right, come through here. All right, now if memory serves me correctly, I do believe that the brown is the ground, right? Brown is ground, black is 4, yellow is 8, and green is 16. If I, you know what? I should check that. Let me get a. Let me look on the internets. The internets are good for everything. Because if I mess that up, then we got problems. Right? So I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. Let's see. Let's see. Transformers. I'm looking at transformer suppliers to who did Haybower's transformers, output transformer, and it is the Marshall output transformer, plexi. Get the wiring diagram up. That ain't it. There ain't no orange. What is this? This is not it. Oh, I got the, sorry. My bad. I'm looking at the 50. We're not looking at the 50. We got to look at the 100. Let's find the 100. Come on, hey Bower, where's your 100 at? Why do they not have it listed here? 50, 15, 50. Ah, here it is. Apologies for the delays. And I was correct. Brown was common. Black was 4. Yellow was 8. And the other one's the 16. So we're going to start with the laying it back down, right? We're going to take these. And we got to kind of thread them underneath here, right? And come up on the other side. Give me the green. Okay, so I got all of those, and there's just enough lead to make this happen. So that's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna put in one of these cliff jacks in place. Just to kind of hold things in position. There we go. And then we're going to test the switch. So I'm not sure which way it goes. So we're going to go with our meter here and with the beepy setting for continuity. Right, so 4 ohm. Four ohms at the bottom. Okay. So this would be the 8, and then this would be the 16. Okay, so 4 is on the bottom. Good to know. So let's get our black lead. All right. Green is 16. So you know what? I'm going to do the green lead first, because that's going to, we need every inch of it. And that's going to hold everything pretty good in place. And there goes my soldering iron. Falling off there. That's okay though. That's why I use a separate thing to take this, use a sponge and a little glass here so all the little pellets can come off into the glass and not all over the place. Because I can't tell you how many times I've tipped one of these things over and spilled like a gazillion little chunks of lead everywhere, and that sucks when that happens. Alright, so we got our 16. There we go. And I'm kind of going through the back, right? So it keeps things towards the back of the chassis, right? So I'm going to take this next one, which is the yeller. I'm going to trim just about about an inch off of it total, right? I'm going to strip it down. There we go. Twist and tin. So the internet is a valuable resource of information, yet at the same time is a terrible resource of information. It's like everything else. It was like Homer Simpson or whatever. Alcohol. The source of and the solution to all of life's problems. Right? The internet is exactly that. It is the source of and the solution to all of our current problems. So what? Right? And, you know, this is why they wonder what, like, amp guys are nuts. Right? Because when you're sitting here doing this stuff, this is the kind of crap you got to think about. Like, honestly, I don't know. I really can't think of really anything after weighing in total, I really don't see the internet as a positive. I really don't. I think it's become, or has always been, something that's unfortunately going to be our demise. All right, so we're going to run our ground, right? And we're going to use all of this to go through. But before that, we need to obviously have our ground grounded. So I'm going to use down there. We have one of our solder lugs that's left over from the 1 ohm 1 watt situation, right? So I'm going to take a little bit of my black wire, right? And I'm going to kind of get everything out of the way here. I'm going to drop my screwdriver or my pliers on the floor. Kind of got to get it through there. I should probably bend that up a tiny bit so I can get to it. There we go. This is like Operation the game. Okay. Now when you're doing stuff like in there, you're gonna always like kind of like bend your solder a little bit to kind of allow it to get in there unobstructed from different angles, so you can also get your iron in there as well, right? So with experience comes dexterity with the old soldering iron. All right, so we've got that in place. All right, and I think I'm going to run it behind all these leads here. So that seems neater. So I'm going to bend it up. You know what? No, it's not neater. Gets in the way. So we'll go like that. Or we could use this. You know what? We're going to use this wire. So we'll cut it here. And then we'll strip off a bunch of it, right? So that we can make it all the way through both jacks here. That's good. So I'm going to thread this through, and this is our sort of ground bus for the output jacks. All right. So that's nice and neat. Now I'll start soldering from this side. Right, and then I'll go to here. And I'll go over to here. And then I will attach the output transformer's lead, ground lead, at that point. Nice and neat. And there we go. So now the output transformer is entirely wired in. All right, so we have our secondary here. We have our primary over on this side. We have our choke ready to go. So all this stuff's looking pretty good. Let's see. What else did we want to do? Well, that's the phase inverter, right? So this is the phase inverter cap. Maybe we want to run that, because that's going to run down this way and up to the phase inverter, right? And the ground is going to sort of be over here. Yeah, we can do that. So I got some orange right here, so I'm going to use some orange. And that basically is going to run the way that they used to do it, is it would run kind of like this. Right along the floor of the amp. Right? So right about there. So I'm going to strip off enough, once again, to run these in parallel. So I'll come through the bottom. Actually, that ground is on that side, so we're going to come through the top. No, we can come through... Yeah, let's come through the top. Like that. Solder at home. Fold it over. I don't know, that could be something. If someone has some software, they could copy this video. No, that won't work. And make it go fast. That would be piracy. And we can't have that. It always struck me as funny that you go through all the trouble of doing all of this, but Marshall kind of left this one like a lone ranger here, running down the side. But that's what they do. All right, so we're going to figure out how far we need it to go. It's basically going to go right here. All right? So let's figure it's going to be in line between those pots. All right, so we're going to bring this up from right there. It's going to come over the board. So right about there is where we're going to want to cut it. All right, so it'll come up over the top of the board and tie onto that turret. So that's ready to go. So you can see you leave a lot of stuff to kind of be set up for later, which is interesting. All right, so I'm going to do the ground now on the phase inverters capacitor over here. It's kind of amazing that this amplifier that Marshall made isn't noisier than it is, considering their ground plane. But you know, I mean, you have preamp filters grounded all over the place. Go old school. No jacket, just bus. It's ground anyway. Kind of looks cool this way too. Right? There we go. Alright, so we have that capacitor grounded down. We also need to obviously ground this here filament center tap, right? This big fat green wire has to be grounded there. There's a little lead still hanging out under the chassis there. Cut a little more off of it. Strip it. That is one fat wire. I'm going to bend this up a little bit. And then we're going to heat it and shove at the same time. There we go. That way the whole lead gets through there in one nice piece. Right, so you tin it, you get it up, because it's really almost the exact size to get through this solder tab. So you heat it as you're pushing it through, and it softens it enough so it'll make it through the through hole, so to speak. You trim off that little bit of extra there that just didn't look good. Okay. There we go. Now we got to go to the primary side of this transformer and figure out what's going on with that. So we need to look once again. Luckily we have the hay mower site ready to go. So now it's just a matter of locating power transformer. Alright, still looking. Here we go. I believe this one should be it. Alright, so we have this looks right. Black, black, green, yellow. 103 volts off of there. So this has a bias supply for it as well. Interesting. Okay. So the bias supply is green and white. Alright, so this is our bias. We'll just move more of the chassis in view here. Green and white are the bias. So we need 120 and 0 volts. So 0 is orange and 120 is red. So these two are needed. And then what leaves us purple and blue, which are 220 and 240 volt respective. So we're going to go ahead and just cut these and insulate them. So I'm just going to trim that much off them for now. But we'll use some heat shrink tube. So I got this stuff, right, which is really good stuff. That can go anywhere. Astratite. Good stuff. I don't think they make that anymore though, so you're not going to find any. Alright, so let's figure out how we're going to wire all this and make it look neat. We got to go from the IEC to the fuse. So the components would be the IEC, the fuse, and the switch. So we need to ground the IEC. We need the neutral. We're not going to switch the neutral because that's stupid and dangerous. So the neutral wires are going to come to here. So I think this is where we're going to have our cornerstone wire like we talked about before. To make things neat, you pick one wire that's going to go in a direction across the chassis, right? Sort of cross country. And then everything else will kind of come to that and branch off of it. And that's how sort of everything looks kind of good. So we're going to use orange as our sort of guide wire. So let's see. Maybe we'll have it right here. Right like that. I think that's good. So we'll run right here. Right. Where are we at? 28 minutes. So we're gonna try to limit each one of these to a half an hour. All right, bite-sized chunks. I'm gonna keep going, but I'm not gonna post. I'll post like every 2 days, so give you a chance to watch something. And we also need the neutral off of this, right? So we need to extend this guy. So this neutral here has got to go all the way over to here. So we're going to use some of the Astratite, right? And then we need some other kind of wire. Another color, rather, of wire. I think I'm out of black, if you can believe that. That's like the best color in the world, and it doesn't look like I've got any more. That's shielded. You can use blue. Get off! Right? You can use some blue wire, which is kind of cool too. We got to order some more wire here. Definitely. Alright, so we're going to take this lead here. Right, and the way I like to do this is put them together in an X pattern. Right, I'm going to take a little bit more of the blue side, and a little bit more of the black side, right, like that. Put them in an X pattern, and then start to wind them together like that, right? And then you'll have a little bit right here that you need to poke off, right? So now you got them still in a continuous thing where it's not like a lumpy mess. You're still gonna have a little lump, but it's not like if you twist them together and then, you know, how would I say, twist them together like this, you know. It's better to twist them like this than it is to twist them like this. Does that make sense? All right, so where's my Astrotyte? Just had my Astrotyte. Now my Astrotyte's gone. Where'd it go? Bullshit. You guys all know where it is, I know. And you're laughing at me. And you're like, you put it right there. Did I throw it in the garbage? No, it's right here. All right, so I'm going to take about this much of the Astrotyte, and I've got a reel of this stuff, which I love, right? I'm going to thread it in from this side over here, right? And I'm going to run it over the joint like so, right? And that's nice. Now I'll grab my heat gun. Plug it in on our terminal here. There we go. Right, so where are we at now? 31. We're over. We're over! Alright, so I'm just going to do this common wire, and then that will be it for today. So I'm running it back. Well, you know what? Let's see. Do we want to run it this way? Yeah, we're going to run it underneath. Kind of in front like that. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. And then we'll come down following. Yeah, because we're going to run. Yeah, that looks good. That should be good right like that. So we'll bring this over, unhook this neutral again, so we cut them to about the same length. There we go. Strip ourselves a little bit of wire. All right, and then we can kind of put both of them through the neutral on the plug. Right, and you know this from habit, or you know this by looking at the plug. Right, because on the plug it'll have what, an L, an N, and a G, and that does not stand for liquefied natural gas. Although I wish it did. I'd like to have some of that. Yeah, so you never want to confuse the two, right? And have your hot leads on your neutrals and your neutrals on your hots, and be fusing on your neutral side. You're making something that's dangerous at that point. So don't do that. Make sure you know that you have your live and neutral properly identified and in the correct place, right? All right, so there's that. So I think this is where we're going to leave off for now, and when we come back, we'll continue on wiring. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.